Okay, so today let's start seated, but face the side of the mat. So you'll come into, well, two options. You'll face the side of the mat just so that the feet have some distance. So a wide-legged straddle. And it doesn't need to be the widest stance or the widest seat. You could bring it in a little bit, especially to start. Some of you have a blanket or a folded towel. That can be nice to put underneath the hips. You don't need one. But if you have one, now is probably a good time to use it. And if you are using one, you want to sit more toward the edge of the folded side so that it almost feels like you're going to fall off. And then from here, we'll just start with the chest up. Hands can rest on the thighs, and you can either turn the palms down or turn them to face up. I always love going back and forth a few times to see which one feels better. And all that connects back to is where your energy's at right now on your mat as you're starting your practice. If palms feel better facing up, that means you're more open to receiving energy. And if palms want to face down, it means you are wanting more grounding. So it's kind of a nice way to feel your way into your practice and help you decide how you want the rest of your class to go. So start to take a deep breath in through the nose, back out through the nose. Deep inhale in through the nose, sitting up tall. Exhale, release. Long inhale. Long controlled exhale. Keep going on your own. Keep the eyes closed. See if you can find any more length in the spine as you're going back and forth between your inhales and your exhales. You'll start to blink open the eyes, and you can walk the hands down in front of you. If you have blocks, blocks are nice, especially if the mat feels far away and you're just going to hinge forward a little bit. If you don't need them, that's fine. You can start to walk the hands a little bit forward, but we're not coming into our deepest wide-legged straddle. So find a place that feels good. Keep the knees and the toes pointing up. They want to go down toward the mat. So you have to keep a little focus there. And then keep the navel reaching up through the sternum so the back stays long, and you take any rounding out of the spine. You're still with your Ujjayi breath. Start to walk the hands back in. And use the right hand underneath the right thigh to bring that foot in. And you'll keep this left leg wide. You'll just bring the sole of the right foot inside of the left leg. And then from here, reach the left arm forward, palm facing up. You can reach the right arm up and over. So you're just coming into a side stretch, but the chest is opening forward as you reach up and over. And don't be concerned about where this right arm lands, even if it doesn't. You're just finding that reach, keeping the right hip rooted and finding some length. And we'll start to come back up. So you can use the right arm to bring yourself back up to seated. And we'll take this into a gentle twist. So back of the left hand can come to the right thigh. Right fingertips are back behind you, and stay on the fingertips. See if you can make them really light. So maybe you're only on the first two fingers. And then you can gently start to twist, but go just 80% of the way. We're just starting out. Make sure those left toes are still pointing up along with the knee. And then you'll keep the body in the twist. Start to bring the gaze back forward, slowly unwind the torso. You can use the hand to bring that right leg back out to where it was. And we'll switch sides. So now use the left hand to bring that left knee or that left foot in, bringing it inside of the right leg. Keep that right leg open wide. And you'll start to reach that right palm up and forward toward the foot. Left arm reaches up and over. Find where that side bend starts to happen as you open the chest forward. You're breathing and listening to the sound of your breath at the same time, creating that ocean wave-like sound with the inhales and exhales. Left arm will bring you back up to seated, sitting up nice and tall. Left fingertips come back behind you. Back of the right hand comes to the left thigh. Sit up tall first, and then a gentle twist. Maybe the gaze goes toward the left shoulder. Keep the shoulders away from the ears, even though you're sitting up really tall. Gaze will start to come forward. Keep the body where it is. Slowly release the torso. Extend that left leg back out. Toes up, knees up. One last forward fold. You can start to walk the hands forward. And maybe forward fold is too aggressive of a way to describe this because it's not about getting the chest down to the mat. You're just trying to feel that opening in the hips and the back sides of the legs. So keep reaching the heart forward. Gaze can stay forward. You can also look down as long as you don't lose the length in the spine. But you're probably down a little farther than you were the first time we came into this. And then you'll start to walk the hands back in to come back up to seated. Use the hands underneath the thighs to bring the knees back together. And you'll come to tabletop on your mat. If you're using a blanket or a towel, you can just slide it back behind the mat so it's out of the way. Then once you come to tabletop, choose how you want the hands. You can have the fingertips forward. You can turn the fingertips out to the sides of the mat. You can turn them all the way around so that the fingertips point toward the knees. On an inhale, reach the heart forward, lift the tail. On the exhale, round the whole spine, chin to chest. Keep going at your own pace, inhaling forward, exhaling back. And typically we do this with the tops of the feet on the mat. However, if it bothers you to keep the tops of the feet on the mat, you could certainly tuck the toes and do cat-cow this way. So either way works. And you'll start to make your way back to a neutral spine. Take your time. If you turn the hands in a different direction, bring them back so that the fingertips point forward. Then reach the right arm all the way up. Feel the opening across the chest as you reach the right arm up. Then thread this right arm through underneath you behind the left arm. You'll set the side of the face down onto the mat and you keep reaching with those right fingertips, left hand in front of the face. You can press into the left hand to start to open the chest. And that's where you start to feel a nice shoulder opening. And with the head on the mat, you're going more toward the ear than the nose. And left hand can stay where it is, especially if you're comfortable here and you're feeling a nice opening. Or you could start to extend the left arm forward so it's reaching over the top of the mat. And if that ever feels uncomfortable, just come back to the left hand in front of the face. If you're good here, stay here. If you want more, reach the left arm up, turn that left palm to face behind you, and wrap the left arm behind the back. So you're coming into a half bind. Pretty deep shoulder opening. See if it's working today. If it's not, go back a step. One of the three options should be a good one. Make sure you hug the belly in a little bit so we don't dip in the lower back too much. If that left arm's behind the back, reach the left arm back up. We'll all bring the left hand in front of the face if it's not already there. Press into the left hand. Reach that right arm all the way up the way we started and see if you have a little bit more length to reach the right arm up after that shoulder opening. The right hand will come back down to the mat and we'll do the other side. Left arm reaches up. Notice what kind of space you have here before the stretch. Then stretch that left arm underneath you, bending the right elbow so you can set the head down onto the mat. Reach those left fingertips forward. Press into the right hand as you open up across the chest and roll the head back toward the ear. Stay here or stretch that right arm forward over the top of the mat. Stay here or reach the right arm up, turn the palm to face behind you, wrap the right arm behind the back. And you're trying to maximize space in the right shoulder, right chest area. So keep that in mind as you place the right hand. Sometimes we get fixated on trying to get the hand in a certain spot. And if it's taking away space from where we're trying to open, then it's not worth it. Right arm reaches back up if it's behind the back. We'll all bring the right hand back down in front of the face. Press into the right hand. Lift that left arm all the way up. See if there's any more space there. Then bring the left hand back down to the mat. Hands are right underneath the shoulders. So you're stacking the shoulders over the wrists, hug the belly in, reach the heart forward, 1 foot at a time, step back to plank pose. So in your plank pose, knees can be up or they can be down on the mat. So when you bring the knees down, you cut the weight that you're holding. And if at any point it seems like it's too much, you bring the knees down. Try to come back to that same breath that we started with. Press down evenly into the hands. So what we often see is people's fingers are too close together. So you want a nice even spread. You're not spreading as wide as you possibly can, but there's definitely space between each finger. And then make sure you're pressing down into the index finger, thumb side of the hand. Squeeze those arms together, stretch the legs back so you feel really long, and keep every muscle in the whole body engaged. Maybe there's a little bit of shaking. That's fine. Breathe through it. I'm shaking and embracing it. And then we'll slowly start to lower all the way down to the mat. So you can take a slow chaturanga with the knees up or the knees down. So we're building a little bit of heat here or a lot of heat. Tops of the feet come to the mat. Reach the arms back behind you. So palms face one another. Keep the tops of the feet down, but they're hip width distance apart, so they're not touching. And then hug the belly in so it's not pressing into the mat and point the tailbone back. Then reach the chest forward, it'll lift. And we're imagining we have that beach ball between the hands that we're holding. So there's some engagement in the palms of the hands trying to connect, even though they're not going to. Arms are working too. And then slowly release. You can make a pillow with the hands and turn the head one way and just let all of that go. You're probably feeling the heartbeat against the mat because of that back bend, which energizes the body. And we'll come back into that. So bring the head up, reach the arms back behind you, lift and spread the chest, keep pointing the toes back, keep the arms firm, like you're trying to squeeze that beach ball back behind you and lift it away from the body. And you're looking down the bridge of the nose, keeping the neck nice and long. Slowly start to release. Make a pillow with the hands. Turn the head the other way and let it all go so the ankles can roll out, legs can completely relax. Body's heavy for a beat. And we're coming back in one more time. Start to lift the head, reach the arms back behind you, and come on up. Shavasana. Where can you get a little bit longer? Then bring the hands down in front of you, shift back to hands and knees. And we want those hands to be ahead of the shoulders. So tuck the toes, lift the hips up and back, and you're coming into your first downward facing dog. So you can pedal out the feet, move the hips side to side, whatever ritual you have. Feet can be wider, especially if they're tight, if the legs are tight. You can also have a deep bend in the knees, especially if that gives you more length in the spine in your downward facing dog. Then look forward at the hands. Step the right foot forward up between the hands, coming into a runner's lunge. You'll set that back knee down, reach the arms up, low lunge. Hook the thumbs. And when you hook the thumbs, you're spreading the fingers. It helps you straighten the arms. So you can hug the elbows in and reach the fingertips up. Shoulder blades are going down the back, so they're not reaching up toward the sky. And it's like you're trying to pull the thumbs apart. Then bring the hands down to the mat. Tuck the back toes if you haven't already. Lift the back knee and you'll straighten the front leg. So you're coming into a modified pyramid pose. Hands back underneath the shoulders makes this less intense. So if you're struggling, walk the hands back. If you want more, walk the hands forward. But being kind to yourself and giving yourself plenty of time to open, trying not to rush it. Inhale forward to a lunge, bending that front leg, plant the hands, step back to downward facing dog. Look forward, left foot forward, up between the hands. Set the back knee down, reach the arms up. And we'll hook the thumbs the other way, so the way that feels unusual. And then as you do that, there's a little bit of scissoring of the inner thighs. You're reaching up with the arms, shoulders are down the back. So there's plenty of space for the neck. And then you hug those elbows in as you lift and spread the fingers. Hands come back down to the mat. Tuck the back toes, lift the back knee, then straighten the front leg. Walk the hands back until you feel comfortable, or forward if you're not feeling anything. Let the head and the neck go. And you're high on the ball of the back foot. Inhale forward to your lunge, plant the hands, step back to downward facing dog. Couple of breaths here. Hide the heels behind the balls of the feet. Then bend the knees, look forward, step, walk, bring the feet up between the hands, coming into a forward fold at the top of the mat. Inhale up halfway. Exhale, fold. All the way up on the inhale, circle the hands or the arms, bring the hands together overhead and down in front of the heart. Surya A. Inhale, reach the arms up. Exhale, forward fold all the way down. Inhale up halfway. Exhale, hands down to the mat, step back to plank pose, lower down halfway chaturanga, all the way down to the mat for cobra, tops of the feet down, reach the chest forward and up, hug those outer elbows in. Then exhale, let that go. Tuck the toes, back up to plank pose with or without the knees, down dog. Bend the knees, look forward, step, maybe lightly hop, feet forward up between the hands. Inhale up halfway. Exhale, fold. Inhale all the way up to standing. Hands come together at the very top and down in front of the heart. Inhale, reaching the arms up. Exhale, forward fold all the way down. Inhale up halfway. Exhale, hands down to the mat, step back to plank. Lower down halfway to chaturanga. Inhale up for your back bend. Exhaling back, down dog. Bend the knees, look forward, feet forward. Inhaling up halfway. Exhale, fold. All the way up on the inhale. Bring the hands together, down in front of the heart. Inhale, reach up. Exhale, fold forward. Inhale up halfway. Exhale, hands down, back to plank pose. Lower down halfway to chaturanga. Cobra or up dog. Down dog. From downward facing dog, right foot steps up between the hands. Hop the back foot in for warrior one. So seal that left heel down, square the hips before you rise up, reach the arms forward and all the way up. Virabhadrasana 1. So hips are facing forward, chest is facing forward. You have that nice deep lunge in the front leg as you spin that inner left thigh back behind you. And then you reach up with those fingertips, similar to what we did with the thumbs hooked. So shoulders are still going down the back and you're hugging those elbows in and reaching up with the hands. And then keep reaching up. You're going to start to straighten the front leg. So you're standing taller, pressing down into the right foot. Keep squaring the hips forward. Then from here, turn the hands into fists and bring them behind the back so the fists touch. And when you do that, it's like the elbows are going back and you'll feel a widening across the collarbones, chest area. Keep that. Stand as tall as you can. Keep that left hip going forward, right hip going back. And slowly start to hinge forward, real slow, no more than halfway. So you want to feel like cobra in the upper body. If you start to feel rounding in the lower back, then come up a little bit until you get rid of it. So a lot of power in the legs for this one. Keep working those elbows back behind you so you continue with that shoulder opening. And then slowly pressing into the feet, you'll rise back up to standing. Go slow. Bring the hands to the hips. Standing tall on the legs so you're feeling a lift in the chest. Turn the toes to the left so you're facing the side of the mat. And then angle in the right toes. Turn the left toes all the way out. Warrior 2 facing the back of the mat. So left foot forward, right foot back. Open up the chest toward the side of the mat as you reach back with that right arm. And as you press down into that left heel and the outer edge of the right foot, it's like you're trying to squeeze the feet together just enough to where you feel like the legs feel grounded and the chest feels lifted. Keep that. Left forearm, left thigh, reach the right arm up and over. So extended side angle. We've done a lot of hip opening, believe it or not. So if you feel like you want to bring that left hand down outside the foot, that's an option too. Otherwise, stick with forearm to thigh. Back to reverse warrior. So press down into the feet, reach that left arm all the way up and back, and straighten the front leg. You're still reaching up and back. Reverse triangle. Bring the hands to the hips. Turn those left toes in and angle them in a little bit more so that you can turn the right toes out and find warrior two, now facing the top of the mat. Windmill the hands down to the mat. Step back to plank pose. Vinyasa if you want one. Back to downward facing dog. Left foot steps up between the hands. Right foot hops in till you can seal that heel down. And those right toes are pointed at like 1 o'clock. Square the hips forward, reach the arms forward and all the way up. Vera 1, spin that right inner thigh back behind you. It'll help you bring that right hip forward and lengthen the left inner thigh forward, finding that deep lunge. And then reach up with the heart, the arms, the fingertips, hugging those outer elbows in, but keep the shoulders going down the back so they're not crawling all the way up toward the ears. Keep reaching up, start to straighten the front leg. So you're pressing down evenly into both legs. Left hip is going back, right hip is coming forward. Make fists with the hands, bring the hands behind the back. Standing tall, chest open, keep pushing those elbows back, start to hinge forward, think cobra in the upper body, and don't go down more than halfway. You stop as soon as that lower back wants to round. We want to keep an arch there. Keep working those elbows back. Keep the legs really strong and pulling that left hip back, right hip forward. Pressing into the feet and the legs, you'll rise back up to standing. Take your time. Feel those stabilizing muscles work. Then bring the hands to the hips, standing tall so the chest feels lifted. Turn the left toes in to face the side of the mat. Keep angling in the left toes. Turn the right toes all the way out. Warrior two facing the back of the mat. Dig down into the right heel, outer edge of the left foot, like you're trying to squeeze them together a little bit. And then keep the chest lifted, palms face down, and they press down a little bit to give that release in the shoulders. Right forearm, right thigh, left arm up and over, Parsva Konasana. Stay here, or maybe the hand comes down to a block or the mat outside of the foot. Slowly transition, reverse warrior. Take your time. Keep the legs. Not here for long. Find a deeper lunge in the right knee. Then straighten that right leg. Keep reaching up and back, reverse triangle. Hands start to make their way to the hips. Turn those right toes to face the side of the mat. Keep angling in the right toes. Turn the left toes out. Warrior two. Now back at the top of the mat. Windmill the hands down to the mat. Optional vinyasa or go straight back to downward facing dog. Bend the knees, look forward to the top of the mat, step, hop, bring the feet up. Inhale up halfway. Exhale, fold. Bend the knees, chair pose. Sit the hips back, reach the arms up. Press all the way up to standing. Hands come together, down in front of the heart. Inhale, sit back, chair pose, Utkatasana. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale up halfway. Exhale, hands down to the mat. Step back to plank pose. You choose how you want to get to downward facing dog. Right foot steps up between the hands. Left heel down, back to warrior one. Take your time to set it up. Reach the arms forward and up. Straighten the front leg, keep reaching up. This time I'll give you another option. So you can stick with the fists behind the back, making fists with the hands and letting the fists touch. You can start there. Or you can clasp opposite elbows. That's definitely a deeper variation. Make sure you can still press the elbows back and you're getting that width across the collarbones, shoulders able to lower. If it doesn't work, come back to reverse fists. So standing tall with the chest, pressing down into the legs, slowly start to hinge forward halfway or less. Listening to your body and finding where it is. Slowly start to rise back up with nice strong legs, using that control. Hands come to the hips. Turn the right toes in to face the side of the mat. Right toes angle in a little bit. Left toes turn all the way out. Warrior two, left leg forward. Take it to extended side angle, either forearm to thigh, reaching the right arm up and over, or maybe the hand comes down. Back up, reverse warrior. Then straighten the front leg, keep reaching up and back. Hands come to the hips, turn those left toes in, keep angling them in, turn the right toes out, warrior two. Hands come down to the mat any way you want, back to downward facing dog. Left foot steps up between the hands, hop the back foot in, warrior one. Start to press down into both heels to straighten the front leg. Keep the chest lifted. Then bring the arms behind the back. Start with reverse fists. Keep pulling the elbows back and then see, maybe you clasp opposite elbows. If you do that, go the other way. So other forearm on top this time. Chest is nice and open. Elbows are still reaching back, shoulders down the back, press down into the legs, chest lifted, leading with the heart. Start to hinge forward, no more than halfway. Listen to your lower back for guidance. We'll start to press into the legs, hug the core in to make our way back up to standing. Keep the arm variation that you chose. Once the head's over the hips, then bring the hands to the hips. Turn those left toes in. Keep angling them in. Turn the right toes all the way out. Warrior two, face the back of the mat. So it's like that left hip, the back hip, is pushing the right hip forward. That'll help you keep the head over the hips so you're not leaning forward. Right forearm, right thigh, or hand down outside of the foot, extended side angle. Reverse warrior. Take your time. Straighten the front leg. Keep reaching up and back. Hands come to the hips. Turn those right toes to angle in. Left toes out. Virabhadrasana 2, facing the top of the mat. Left leg forward. Hands make their way down to the mat, and you make your way to downward facing dog. Follow the breath. Bend the knees, look forward, bring the feet forward. Inhale up halfway. Exhale, fold. Chair pose, Utkatasana. All the way up to standing, hands come together down in front of the heart. So we'll go back through that flow again, but we'll add on a little bit to it. Bend the knees, sit back, chair pose. Forward fold. Inhale up halfway. Exhale, hands down to the mat. Step back to plank pose, down dog, vinyasa. Up to you. Right foot steps forward for warrior one. Keep the chest lifted, legs anchored straight in the front leg. Hands behind the back, either reverse fists, clasp opposite elbows. If you're feeling really open and you really want to take it a step further, you could take reverse prayer. Hands come together, fingertips point up, and you shimmy the fingertips up pretty high without touching the back if you can. And then right when the hands touch the back, that's where you stay. Open up the elbows by bringing them back. Start to hinge forward. Slowly start to press yourself back up. Hands come to the hips. Stand tall. Turn the right toes in, left toes out. Warrior two, facing the back of the mat. Extended side angle. Reverse warrior. Straighten the front leg. Keep reaching up and back. Bring the hands to the hips. Turn those left toes in. Right toes out. Warrior two. Back to the top of the mat. This time, straighten the front leg. You're coming into triangle pose. Start to shift the hips back as you reach the right arm forward. Bring that right hand down, left arm up. Trikonasana. Press back into the feet. Come back up to standing. Warrior two. Hands come down to the mat. Step back to plank pose. Make your way back to downward facing dog. Left foot steps up between the hands. Find warrior one on this side. Straighten the front leg. Bring the arms behind the back. Do the same variation you did on the first side if the body allows for it. Reverse fists, clasp opposite elbows the other way, or maybe you play with reverse prayer, bringing the hands together, turning the fingertips to point up without touching the back if you can, and then seeing how high up you can put the fingers without touching the back. Then the hands come to the back, open up across the chest, pull those elbows back, nice strong legs. Slowly start to hinge forward, cobra in the upper body. Listen to the lower back for guidance. Slowly press yourself back up to standing. Once the head's over the hip and you're pressing down into the legs, bring the hands to the hips, turn those left toes in, keep angling them in, right toes out, warrior two. Extended side angle. Reverse warrior. Straighten the front leg, keep reaching up and back. Hands to the hips, turn those right toes in, left toes out, warrior two. Straighten the front leg. You could heel toe the back foot in if you want to shorten your stance for triangle. Otherwise, stretch that left arm forward, open the chest, bring the right arm up. Back up to standing, keep the front leg straight, look forward over the left arm, warrior two, bend that front knee. Then windmill the hands down to the mat. Step back to plank pose. Work your way through a vinyasa if you want one. Back to downward facing dog. Few breaths in downward facing dog. Hopefully the upper body is feeling pretty open as well as the legs. So heels are going down toward the mat. You're lifting the hips up so you feel that length in the back sides of the legs. Then look forward, bend the knees, feet forward. Inhale up halfway. Exhale, fold. Chair pose, Utkatasana. All the way up to standing, hands come together, down in front of the heart. So bring the hands to the hips, step the left foot back like 2/3 of the way. So really similar to the pyramid pose, Parsvottanasana that we've been playing with. You'll square the hips forward. And then from here, start to hinge forward halfway. You can keep the hands on the hips. So just like we've been doing, but hands on the hips this time. Legs are still strong. You're feeling the back really strong. And then from here, we'll come all the way down. So you can bring the hands to blocks or the mat. And now you're folding over that right leg. So it's not coming down halfway, but we're coming all the way in, Parsvottanasana. Let the head and the neck go. And this is a great way to open up the legs, especially if you guys are doing other activity. It's hard to come into right away. So you want to open up with, some lunges or that wide-legged straddle, just really soft before you come into something like this. So come up halfway. Fingertips are still down on the mat. Left hand down in front of the shoulder, or I'll give you two other options. Left hand can come to the ankle, you're pulling that right hip back wherever you are, or left hand can come down outside of the right foot. Right hand, right hip, pull that hip back, open up across the chest. You feel those legs fire up. Maybe the right arm reaches up. So now you're coming into a twisted triangle. So legs are working, core is hugging in, you're opening up across the chest. Maybe you start to take the gaze with you if you feel pretty good. Look back down at the mat if you looked up. Bring the hands back down to the mat on either side of that front foot. Fold over the right leg one last time. Then lunge forward in the right knee. Step that left foot forward. You're back in a forward fold, feet side by side. Come up halfway, Ardha Uttanasana. Exhale, fold, Utkatasana, chair pose. Bend the knees, reach the arms up. Press yourself all the way up to standing. Hands come together down in front of the heart. Bring the hands to the hips. Other side. Right foot steps back about 2/3 of the way. So it's not your biggest step, but you want to make sure that that whole foot is down the mat. Right toes angle out like warrior one. Square the hips. Hands on the hips, fold forward halfway. Feel how the legs fire up. They have to do that to support you. So you feel all that strength. And then you can start to look down at the mat, slowly start to fold all the way down. Hands or fingertips on the mat, maybe even blocks. Let the head and the neck go as you fold forward. Left hip still pulling back, right hip's trying to go forward. Then make sure you're pressing down into that left big toe mound to pull that left hip back. And then keeping the fingertips on the mat or on blocks, start to lift the chest halfway. So you're just getting that extension of the navel going up through the sternum. Right hand right underneath the shoulder on the ankle or outside the foot. That's definitely the deepest variation. Left hand comes to that left hip, pull it back, open the chest to the left. Maybe the gaze goes with you. Feel those legs work underneath you. Maybe the left arm reaches up if you feel open enough for that. And you're rooting down into the legs to reach the chest forward and revolve it open. Look down at the mat. Bring the hands back down to the mat on either side of that front foot. Fold forward one more time, last Parsvottanasana. Then inhale forward, bending that front leg, step the right foot forward, Uttanasana, all the way down over the legs. Inhale up halfway, Ardha Uttanasana. And on the exhale, bring the hands down to the mat, bend the knees, step back to plank pose, last Vinyasa, or just go straight to downward facing dog. You decide. All right, glide forward to plank pose, lower yourself all the way down to the mat. So you're coming back to a line on your stomach. Tops of the feet come to the mat. When you bring the tops of the feet to the mat, you want to feel like you're pointing the big toes back and hugging those outer ankles in so they're not feeling like they're rolling out. Then reach the arms back behind you, palms face one another, shoulders down the back. Shift that tailbone so it's going toward the heels and hug the belly in. Then reach the chest forward, coming back into Shalabhasana. This time, if you want to hover the feet, you can lift them. It's not about how high they go, it's about how far back they go. Inner thighs are working like you're squeezing a block and trying to squeeze it up toward the sky. And then set the feet down if you lifted them, make a pillow with the hands, turn the face one way, let that all go. Come back in for your second round, 2 of 3. Reach the arms back behind you. Press into the tops of the feet. Hug those outer ankles in. Reach the chest forward. Reach the arms back, shoulders back. Maybe the feet hover as you stretch the feet back. So another good thing is thinking about somebody pulling your feet back. They're not lifting them up. They're pulling them back. That's what you're doing as you reach the heart forward. All those back muscles working. Then gently release, set the feet back down, make a pillow with the hands, turn the face the other way. One last back bend. Come back to center, reach the arms back, keep the feet down. You can keep the hands like this, or if you feel open enough, you could interlace the fingers and point the knuckles back. Just an option. If it doesn't feel good, skip it and go back to what we were doing. Maybe the feet hover, lift and spread the chest, get as long as you can. Keep that space in the lower back. Try not to take any of it away. And then gently release. Make that pillow with the hands. Turn the head the other way. This time, bend the legs and move the feet side to side like windshield wipers. And then set the feet back down. Bring the hands underneath you. Come up to hands and knees. Child's pose. You could either do knees and feet together and sit back that way. That, especially if there's any tenderness in the lower back, that might feel good. And arms can go back behind you. If you want to take the way we usually do with the big toes together and the knees apart, that's fine too. And then start to lift the chest up, turn to face the side of the mat the way we began, seated in a wide-legged straddle. So this time you can bring the legs a little wider. The hips are definitely more open. Knees and toes point up. Bring the hands down in front of you, sit up nice and tall, and then start to walk the hands forward. Blocks are helpful to fill in any gaps. So if you can't go all the way down, you can put them underneath the hands, or you can put the forearms on them, or you can build something for the forehead. But just try to keep those knees and toes pointing up. It's like you're still pressing out through the soles of the feet. And spreading the toes is always a nice way to keep the muscles in the legs active. So Upavishta Konasana. And slowly rise back up to seated. You'll bend the right leg. You can use the hand, bring the sole, the right foot inside of the left leg. Same thing we did before. Left arm reaches forward, right arm up and over. Open up across the chest. If the foot's right there, you can grab it. Don't be fixated on that though. You're just trying to get a deep side opening. Right arm will bring you back up to seated, and we'll take that same twist we did at the beginning. So bring the right fingertips back behind you, back of the left hand to the right thigh, sit up tall, keep those left toes pointing up, and here's your twist. Look over that right shoulder. So you're going all the way in this time, but be light on the right hand. Maybe you even just hover the thumb, the ring finger, the pinky finger, maybe even the middle finger. Then start to bring the gaze back forward, unwind. Right leg goes out. You can use the hand, especially as we're cooling down. Left knee comes in. Bring the sole of that left foot inside the right leg. Right palm faces up. You could slide it on top of the leg, inside of the leg. Left arm reaches up and over. Keep opening the chest forward and keep that left hip rooted. Slowly come back up. Use the left arm as a guide. Left fingertips back behind you, back of the right hand, left thigh. Sit up nice and tall. Revolve the chest open. That twist should feel so good. Make sure the right toes are pointing up along with that right knee. And then you gaze over the left shoulder. Maybe you play with how many fingertips you're using as little as possible. So that way you're using the spine and all the muscles around it to sit up tall rather than leveraging the hand too much. Start to bring the gaze back forward. Unwind the torso. Use the left hand to bring that left leg back out. One last forward fold. Knees and toes up. Let the head and the neck go. Maybe you come down a little further without force. Using the hands, bring yourself back up to seated. Grab the backs of the thighs to bend the legs and turn yourself to face forward on your mat. You could take a seated meditation. I do have an option for your Shavasana if you decide to take that. If you have blocks, they're great. Soles of the feet together, knees wide, lie down onto your back for Supta Baddha Konasana. So if you're not using blocks, this might feel fine and there might not be any pulling. If there is now or at any point during your Shavasana, extend the legs forward. We don't want any kind of discomfort to take you out of stillness. And wherever you are, take one more breath in through the nose, deep one. Hold it at the very top. Sigh it out the mouth. Let that go. You'll begin to deepen the breath. You're in Shavasana and you have the soles of the feet together. Use the hands to bring the knees back together and extend the legs out in front of you. If you're lying on your back, walk the feet in, bending the legs, and rolling over onto your right side. Using the hands, bring yourself up to an easy cross-legged seat where we'll all meet. Sitting up tall, noticing how you feel and how this practice has landed in your body today. Bring the hands together in front of you, bowing the head to honor and acknowledge your heart and spirit, as well as everyone around you. Bring the head back up, blink open the eyes. Namaste.